Not everyone was happy about the human. Lord Hessian had served the Empress for 3,000 years. He was her senior advisor. He controlled the flow of information to her throne. He decided who could speak to her and when. He had spent centuries building his power, slowly and carefully, like a spider building a web. Then the human came. Suddenly the Empress was laughing. She was walking in gardens with a nobody from a primitive planet. She was asking for the human's opinion on things, important things, things that Lord Hessian had always handled. This could not continue. Whispers began spreading through the court. The Empress was bewitched. The humans had some kind of mind control technology. Their so-called honesty was just a clever trick to gain power. Taeho noticed the change. People who had smiled at him before now looked away. Invitations to events stopped coming. When he walked through the palace, conversations would stop until he passed. Captain Yuna noticed it too. "You need to be careful," she told him one evening. "You have made enemies." "I did not do anything," Taeho said. "I just talked to her." "That is the problem. She listens to you. People who have waited centuries for her attention are being ignored for a human mechanic." Yuna shook her head. "In politics, that is enough reason to kill someone." Taeho did not believe it at first. He was nobody. Why would anyone want to hurt him? Then his food was poisoned. Twice. The Empress was furious. She ordered investigations. Guards were doubled. But the attackers were never found. The court was too good at hiding its secrets. Through all of this, Taeho kept meeting with the Empress. She taught him about Valanthi history. He taught her about Earth. He showed her Korean movies on a small screen he had brought from home. She was fascinated by them. "They express so much," she said one day, watching a drama about two people falling in love. "All these emotions, right on their faces. My people would consider it shameful to be so open." "Do you think it is shameful?" Taeho asked. She was quiet for a long moment. "I think it is brave." Something was growing between them. Taeho was not stupid enough to call it love, not yet. But there was something, a comfort, an understanding, two lonely people finding each other in the vast coldness of space. The common Valanthi noticed it too. The servants, the guards, the workers who kept the palace running. They watched Taeho with curious eyes. One young servant found the courage to speak to him. "Is it true?" the servant asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "That humans say what they mean? That you do not have to guess what someone is thinking?" "Mostly," Taeho said. "We lie sometimes. But yes, mostly we just say things." The servant's eyes went wide with wonder. That sounds amazing. Taeho had never thought about it before. On Earth, being honest was normal. Here, it was revolutionary. The Festival of 9 Stars was the biggest celebration of the year. The Empress would appear before her people in the Great Plaza. Millions would come to see her. It was a display of power and unity. Taeho was invited to stand near the Empress, an honor that made Lord Hessian's face twist with barely hidden rage. The plaza was packed with people. Music played. Lights danced in the sky. The Empress stood on a raised platform, addressing her empire. Taeho watched from nearby. He was not really listening to the speech. He was looking at the crowd, at all the different faces, at the way they looked at their Empress with awe and fear. Then he saw it. A figure, pushing through the crowd, moving too fast. Hand reaching inside a cloak. Years of bar fights in Busan had taught Taeho to recognize danger. He did not think, he just moved. He threw himself at the Empress just as the knife came out. They both crashed to the ground behind a pillar. The blade meant for her heart caught his shoulder instead. Pain exploded through his body. Hot blood soaked his clothes. Guards swarmed the attacker. Screams filled the plaza. Chaos erupted everywhere. But Taeho only saw the Empress. She was holding him with all 4 of her arms, pressing down on his wound, her face filled with terror. Her skin was cycling through colors so fast it hurt to look at. "You fool," she said. Her voice was shaking. "Why did you do that?" Taeho looked up at her. The pain was making everything blurry, but he could still see her face, still see the fear in her silver eyes. "You know," he said, his voice weak, "you are really pretty when you are worried." The Empress stared at him. Then she laughed. It was a strange sound, mixed with tears and relief, and something else. It echoed across the plaza, cutting through the chaos. The Empress of 9 star systems was laughing while holding a bleeding human in her arms. Guards rushed them to safety. Doctors came. The wound was serious, but not deadly. The blade had missed anything vital. Later, Captain Yuna stood beside his medical bed. "You jumped in front of a knife for an alien queen." "Yes." "You almost died." "Yes." "And your last words were going to be a comment about how pretty she is?" Taeho smiled weakly. "At least I am consistent." Yuna looked at him for a long moment. Then, for the first time since he had known her, she smiled. "You really are an idiot," she said softly. "But maybe you are our idiot." Somewhere in the palace, the Empress was ordering the arrest of Lord Heshan. The investigation was beginning. Everything was about to change. And Taeho lay in his bed, shoulder wrapped in bandages, thinking about the way she had laughed. He was definitely in trouble. The good kind. The videos spread across the galaxy in hours. Every news station played it. Every planet watched it. A small human male throwing himself in front of an empress, taking a blade meant for her heart, bleeding on crystal floors while making jokes about her appearance. It was the strangest thing anyone had ever seen. Commentators analyzed it endlessly. Military experts pointed out that Taeho had no combat training. Political experts noted that Earth would gain nothing from his death. Psychologists tried to explain why a human would sacrifice himself for an alien he had known for only 3 weeks. No one could explain it. It did not make sense. Humans were supposed to be primitive, selfish, focused only on their own survival. But here was one who had jumped in front of a knife without thinking. Not for money, not for power, not for any logical reason. Just because it was the right thing to do. On Earth, Taeho became famous overnight. His mother gave interviews to confused reporters. His old friends from the garage could not believe it. The president mentioned him in a speech. In the Volanthi Empire, everything was changing. Lord Heshan's trial revealed centuries of corruption. He had been building a network of spies and assassins. He had silenced anyone who threatened his power. He had planned to eventually control the Empress herself. The knife had been his final move. If the Empress died, chaos would follow. And in chaos, Heshan would rise. But a human mechanic had ruined everything. The court watched the trial in shock. So many secrets coming to light. So many noble families caught in Heshan's web. The careful structure of lies that held Volanthi society together was crumbling. Captain Yuna visited Taeho in the medical wing. He was recovering well. The Volanthi doctors were amazed at how fast humans healed. "You did it," she said, sitting beside his bed. "You actually did it." "Did what? Almost die?" "Changed everything." She pulled out a data pad and showed him the numbers. Earth is getting a full trade alliance, 3 colony rights in Volanthi space, military cooperation treaties, technology sharing agreements. Taeho stared at the screen. "Because I got stabbed? Because you showed them who we are." Yuna leaned back in her chair. "Every other species in this galaxy plays politics. They calculate gains and losses. They make moves based on logic." She smiled slightly. "And then here come the humans, running toward danger instead of away from it, saying stupid things at the worst times, acting on emotion and instinct. That does not sound very impressive." "It is, because in a galaxy of cold calculations, we are warm. We are messy and emotional, and completely unpredictable. Yuna laughed softly. The Volanthi have been watching us for decades, trying to figure out what we want. And the answer is nothing special. We just want to help. We just want to connect. We are lonely little creatures looking for friends in the universe. Taeho thought about that. It sounded both pathetic and beautiful. There is something else, Yuna said. Her voice became more serious. The common Volanthi are talking. Servants, workers, regular people. They saw what you did. They saw the Empress laugh. They are starting to ask questions. What kind of questions? About why they have to hide everything. About why honesty is considered shameful. About whether there is a different way to live. Yuna met his eyes. You did not just save the Empress, Taeho. You started something. Over the next few weeks, Taeho saw it for himself. The looks he received in the hallways changed. Before, nobles had avoided him. Now, common Volanthi would catch his eye and nod. Of gratitude. One day, a group of young Volanthi stopped him in a corridor. You are the human, one of them said. The one who speaks truth. I am just Taeho, he said. We have been learning about Earth, another one said. Her skin was shifting nervously. About how your people live. How you say what you feel. How you show emotion without shame. It sounds nice, the first one added quietly. To not have to pretend all the time. Taeho looked at their young faces. They were scared, hopeful, confused, just like he had been when he first arrived. It is scary sometimes, he admitted. Being honest means people can hurt you. They know exactly where to aim. Then why do it? Taeho thought about his life, about the friends he had made, about the Empress laughing in a garden, about the weight that lifted every time he said what he actually meant. Because the alternative is worse, he said finally. Living behind masks forever. Never knowing if anyone actually knows you. Never really connecting with anyone. He shrugged. Humans decided a long time ago that pain was worth it. That being truly known was better than being safely hidden. The young Volanthi looked at each other. Something passed between them. Some shared understanding. Thank you, the first one said, for showing us there is another way. They walked away, talking quietly among themselves. Taeho watched them go. He was not a philosopher. He was not a leader. He was just a mechanic from Busan who could not keep his mouth shut. But somehow that was enough. Captain Yuna found him later, still standing in that corridor. The Empress wants to see you, she said. She says it is important. Taeho nodded. His shoulder was still sore, but he could walk now. Yuna, he said as they started walking, do you think I did the right thing? Jumping in front of that knife. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. You did the human thing, she said. And sometimes that is exactly what the galaxy needs. Taeho hoped she was right. He really hoped she was right. 1 year had passed since a mechanic from Busan accidentally changed the galaxy. Taeho had learned many things in that year. He learned the Volanthi language properly, not just through a translator. He learned their poetry and their music. He learned the 1,000 different ways they said, I respect you, without ever saying, I love you. He also learned that the Empress's favorite color was the deep blue of dying stars, that she secretly enjoyed terrible jokes, that she had once wanted to be an artist before duty claimed her life. In return, he taught her about Earth. She watched Korean dramas with him, crying at the sad parts and yelling at the villains. She tried ramyeon noodles and declared them aggressively flavorful while eating 3 bowls. She learned to hold hands, which Volanthi considered scandalously intimate. The galaxy called him many things now. The human consort, the fool who saved the empire. Taeho did not care about titles. He only cared about the moments between them. The quiet conversations in glowing gardens. The laughter that came easier now. The way she looked at him when she thought he was not watching. But nothing had been said. Nothing official. Nothing real. Velith was still the empress. She had duties, expectations, 1,000 nobles waiting to see who she would choose as her proper consort. And Teho was still just a human, a stranger in a strange land. Someone who should not dream so high. On the anniversary of their first meeting, the Empress summoned him to her private chambers. It was late in the night cycle. The palace was quiet. Most of the servants had gone to sleep. Teho found her standing by a window that looked out at the stars. 9 star systems glittered in the void. All of them her responsibility. She did not turn around when he entered. "My advisors have been talking," she said. Her voice was calm, too calm. "They say I should take a proper consort, someone Velanthi, someone who understands our ways, someone appropriate." Teho felt his heart sink. He had known this moment would come. He had prepared himself for it, but the pain was still sharp, like a knife between his ribs. "What do you think?" he asked quietly. She finally turned. Her skin was cycling through colors he had learned to read over the past year. Blue for sadness, purple for uncertainty, gold for hope, pink for affection. They swirled across her face like clouds across a sky. "I think," she said slowly, "that a year ago, a foolish human walked into my throne room. He stood before the most powerful being he had ever met. He was surrounded by thousands of hostile nobles. He was completely alone and completely unprepared." She took a step toward him, and he said exactly what he was thinking. No fear, no calculation, just pure, stupid honesty. Another step. No one had done that in millennia. "Do you understand, Teho? Thousands of years of careful words and hidden meanings. And then you come along and tell me my war beast has a nice rear end." She was close now, close enough to touch. "I have ruled 9 systems for 10,000 years. I have been worshipped and feared and obeyed. But until you came, no one ever made me laugh. No one ever looked at me like I was just a person instead of a throne." Her voice softened. "No one ever took a knife from me without expecting anything in return." She reached out with one hand. Just one, the human way. Her fingers touched his face gently. "So I ask you, Kang Teho, you who speak without thinking, you who feel without hiding." Her silver eyes were bright with something that might have been tears. "What do you think of me?" Teho looked at her, the Empress of 9 star systems, the most powerful being he had ever known. The woman who laughed at his terrible jokes, and cried at drama endings, and held his hand like it was something precious. He thought about all the careful words he could say, all the diplomatic phrases he had learned, all the proper ways to respond to an empress. Then he threw them all away. "Nice ass," he said. For a moment, there was silence. Then Velith laughed, a real laugh, a loud laugh. The kind of laugh that came from deep inside, that shook her whole body and made her eyes squeeze shut. She was still laughing when she kissed him. It was not a proper Velanthi kiss. It was not formal, or traditional, or appropriate. It was messy and human and perfect. When they finally pulled apart, Teho was grinning like an idiot. "Does this mean I am the proper consort now?" "It means you are my consort," Velith said. "Proper has nothing to do with it." "Your advisors will hate it. My advisors can learn to adapt." She smiled. "Besides, I have been listening to their proper advice for 10,000 years. Look where it got me, lonely and bored and surrounded by liars." She took his hand in 2 of hers. "I would rather have 1 honest fool than 1,000 perfect courtiers." "Fool seems a bit harsh. You told the Empress of 9 star systems that her animal had a nice butt, within 30 seconds of meeting her." "I stand by my assessment." "I know you do." She squeezed his hand. "That is why I love you." The words hung in the air between them. Simple words, honest words, the kind of words that Velanthi never said directly. Teho felt tears forming in his eyes. He blinked them away. I love you too, he said, even though you are terrifying and ancient and way out of my league. I am very much out of your league, she agreed. And I am just a mechanic from Busan. The best mechanic from Busan. They stood together by the window, looking out at the stars. Two lonely people who had found each other. An empress who wanted to laugh. A human who could not stop telling the truth. It should not have worked, but somehow it did. And somewhere in the palace, a young Valanthi servant whispered to her friend, "Humans are so cool." Kang Taeho never wanted to be a diplomat. He was a mechanic from Busan. He fixed ships. He drank cheap beer with his friends. He watched football on weekends. That was his life, and he liked it that way. But the universe had other plans. When humanity finally met alien life, they discovered something strange. The translator implants that let humans speak with aliens caused terrible headaches in most people. Only a small number of humans could use them without pain. Taeho was one of those lucky few. So the government took him. They put him in a nice suit. They taught him how to bow and smile and say the right things. They sent him to the stars. Now he stood in the throne room of the Valanthi Empire. It was the most beautiful place he had ever seen. The walls were made of crystal that glowed with soft light. The ceiling was so high, he could not see it. Thousands of alien nobles filled the room, all of them tall and strange and terrifying. The Valanthi were not like humans. They stood 7 feet tall. They had 4 arms. Their skin changed colors like the surface of a soap bubble. They had been ruling their empire for longer than humans had been writing words. And Taeho was supposed to make a good first impression. His commanding officer, Captain Yuna Park, stood beside him. She was small but fierce, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had trained him for 3 weeks for this moment. "Remember," she whispered, "formal greeting, head down, speak only when spoken to. Do not embarrass humanity." "I got it," Taeho whispered back. His hands were sweating. A horn sounded. The crowd went silent. The Empress was coming. Empress Velith descended from her throne on a floating platform. She was the most powerful being in 9 star systems. She had ruled for 10,000 years. Wars started and ended at her word. She was also, Taeho noticed, very beautiful. Not in a human way, but in the way that a storm is beautiful, or a galaxy. Her skin shifted through colors of purple and silver. Her eyes were like liquid metal. She moved like water flowing downhill. Behind her walked her royal mount. It was a massive creature, bigger than a truck. It had 6 legs, a body covered in golden fur, and a tail that ended in something like a blade. The Valanthi called it a war beast. Only the royal family could ride them. Taeho stared at it. It was an impressive animal, very powerful looking, strong legs, and its back end was particularly muscular. Years of working with machines had taught Taeho to appreciate good engineering, and this creature was clearly built for power. The Empress stopped in front of the human group. She looked down at them with ancient eyes. This was the moment. Taeho was supposed to bow and deliver his formal greeting. 27 words in perfect Valanthi protocol language. He had practiced it hundreds of times. He opened his mouth. His translator did something strange. It felt like a hiccup in his brain. And instead of the formal words he had memorized, his mouth said what his brain had been thinking. "Nice ass." The words echoed in the silent throne room. 3,000 Valanthi nobles stared at him. Captain Yuna made a sound like a dying animal. Somewhere behind him, a human diplomat fainted. Taeho felt his soul leave his body. He had just told the most powerful being in the galaxy that her war beast had a nice rear end. On first contact, in front of everyone. He was going to die. Humanity was going to be destroyed. And it was all because he could not keep his thoughts inside his head. The Empress's eyes went wide. Her skin flushed deep violet. The colors spread across her face and down her neck. Taeho waited for the guards to kill him. But then, something unexpected happened. The Empress leaned forward, her silver eyes locked onto his. A small smile appeared on her face. When she spoke, her voice was low and soft, meant only for him. "Say it again." Taeho blinked. "What?" "Say it again," the Empress repeated. Her skin was now shifting to colors Taeho did not recognize. "What you said. Say it once more." Taeho looked at Captain Yuna. She looked like she might explode. He looked at the other diplomats. They were all frozen in horror. He looked back at the Empress. "Nice ass," he said weakly. The Empress's smile grew wider. She straightened up and turned to face her court. When she spoke, her voice carried across the entire throne room. "The human speaks plainly. He says what he thinks without fear. This is acceptable. You will stay. I wish to learn more about your people." She returned to her throne, her war beast following behind her. Its muscular hindquarters swayed as it walked. The room slowly came back to life. Nobles began whispering to each other. Guards relaxed their weapons. Captain Yuna grabbed Taeho's arm and squeezed hard enough to leave bruises. "What did you do?" she hissed. "I don't know," Taeho said honestly. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might burst. "I think I accidentally flirted with the Space Queen." "You told her that her animal has a nice butt." "Yes, and she liked it. Apparently." Captain Yuna closed her eyes. She took a deep breath, then another. "I need a drink," she said finally. "Several drinks. All the drinks." Taeho watched the Empress on her throne. She was speaking with her advisors, but every few moments, her silver eyes would drift back to him. Each time, that small smile would return. He had come here expecting to shake hands and sign papers. He had not expected this. Whatever this was. "Taeho," Captain Yuna said quietly. "Yes?" "You have either saved humanity or doomed us all." She paused. "I will figure out which one later, after the drinks." Taeho nodded. That seemed fair. He looked at the Empress one more time. She was still watching him. His translator had not glitched. He was starting to realize that. It had simply said what he was actually thinking. And for some reason, the most powerful woman in the galaxy had liked it. 3 days after the incident, Taeho learned why he was still alive. The Volanti had rules. Many, many rules. Rules about how to speak. Rules about how to stand. Rules about which words to use with which person at which time of day. Their society was built on layers of hidden meanings and secret signals. To praise something that belonged to royalty was special. To do it boldly, without hesitation, without trying to gain favor, that was considered either very brave or very stupid. The Volanti respected both. Taeho had accidentally done the most respectful thing possible. Or the most flirtatious. Apparently, in Volanti culture, those two things were almost the same. "So I did not insult her?" Taeho asked. The cultural expert, a tired woman named Kim Suji, rubbed her eyes. "No, you basically proposed marriage, or challenged her to a duel. We are still figuring out which one." Taeho put his head in his hands. The worst part was that the engineers had checked his translator 3 times. It was working perfectly. It had not glitched. His subconscious mind had simply spoken directly through his mouth. He had actually thought the war beast had a nice rear end, and he had said it, out loud, to the Empress. Captain Yuna refused to speak to him for 2 days. On the 4th day, Taeho received a message. The Empress wanted to see him, alone. He walked through the Crystal Palace with a guard on each side. His heart was pounding. He did not know what the Empress wanted. He did not know if he was in trouble. He did not know anything anymore. The guard brought him to a garden. It was unlike any garden Taeho had ever seen. The plants glowed with soft blue and purple light. Small creatures floated through the air like living bubbles. A stream of silver water flowed through the middle, making soft, musical sounds. The Empress was waiting for him. She sat on a bench made of white stone. She was alone. No guards, no servants, no advisors, just her, in simple clothing that made her look almost normal. Almost. "Sit," she said, pointing to the space beside her. Taeho sat. He tried to remember his training. He tried to remember the proper words and the correct way to hold his hands. "You are afraid," the Empress said. It was not a question. "Yes," Taeho admitted. There was no point in lying. She would probably know. "Good. Fear is honest." She looked at him with those silver eyes. "Your people sent many diplomats before you. They all spoke in careful words. They smiled and bowed and said nothing real. I learned nothing from them." She turned to face the glowing garden. "Then you came, and you said exactly what you were thinking. No tricks, no hidden meaning, just truth." "It was an accident," Taeho said. "Was it?" The Empress smiled slightly. "Your translator works through your thoughts. It spoke what was in your mind. That is not an accident. That is honesty." Taeho did not know what to say to that. "I have ruled for 10,000 years, the Empress continued. Her voice was softer now. "I have met millions of beings. They all want something from me. Power, money, favor. They wrap their wants in pretty words, but I can always see the truth beneath." She looked at him again. "You wanted nothing. You were just thinking about my war beast, and you said it." "I really was just admiring the animal," Taeho said weakly. "I know." The Empress laughed. It was a quiet sound, like bells in wind. "That is why it was funny." Taeho blinked. "Funny?" "I have not laughed in a very long time, Kang Taeho. Empresses do not laugh. We are too important for such things." I had forgotten what it felt like. They sat in silence for a moment. The floating creatures drifted past them. The silver stream kept singing its soft song. "You will be our permanent liaison," the Empress said finally. "I have decided." "Me?" Taeho's voice came out higher than he intended. "But I am not a real diplomat. I fix engines. I am nobody." "You are honest. In my court, that makes you very rare." She stood up and looked down at him. "I wish to understand humans, not from reports and speeches, from someone who will tell me the truth." "What if the truth is rude? Then I will know it is true." Taeho thought about his life back on Earth, the garage where he worked, his small apartment, his simple routines. That life felt very far away now. "Okay," he said, "but I should warn you, I say stupid things sometimes. I noticed, and I am not good at fancy language. I have enough people who speak fancy language. I do not need more. And I really did think your war beast had a nice rear end. I stand by that." The Empress stared at him. For a moment, he thought he had gone too far. Then she laughed again, longer this time. Her skin shifted to warm colors of gold and pink. "You are very strange," she said. "Yes," Taeho agreed, "but you asked for honest." "I did." She started walking back toward the palace. "Come, I will show you the royal stables. You can tell me what you think of all my war beasts." "That might take a while. We have time." Taeho followed her through the glowing garden. He still did not understand exactly what was happening. He still did not know why the most powerful being in the galaxy wanted to spend time with a mechanic from Busan. But he was starting to like her. Not because she was the Empress, but because underneath all the power and the ancient dignity, she seemed lonely. She seemed tired of lies. She seemed like someone who just wanted to have a normal conversation. He could do that. Normal conversations were the only thing he was good at. Well, that and noticing nice rear ends on alien animals. It was a start.